Hey everyone, it's Chris and Tanya from F Cube. We came up with the name F Cube for our business as it helps us to reinforce our why: family, friends, financial independence. We came up with a name at Subway, as we do with many of our big life decisions, sitting at Subway eating sandwiches.
One other day, we were sitting at Subway and we thought, how can we bring the stories from our business partners, our larger business community, to others and help understand the business that we work in? And so we thought, let's start F Cubed Connects. So over the next couple of weeks and months, we'll bring you stories from our business partners, the larger business community, about how they got started, why they got started in this online business, and some of the challenges that they may have faced as they got started. So join us, look back at some of the old recordings, and we look forward to sharing this information with you. Hey everyone, welcome to our fourth edition of F Cubed Connect. And today we're talking with Monica and Cyril, and maybe we'll kick it off just with a quick introduction, guys.
Hey guys, and
hello everyone. We, as Tanya mentioned, we are Monica and Cyril, and we live in Montreal, Quebec.
Hey guys.
We're happy to be here online with you. Thank you for having us, Tanya and Chris. We appreciate it.
Yeah,
no worries.
Awesome. Maybe, obviously you're in Montreal now, but maybe tell us a little bit about where you're from, some of your background, your occupation, if you're not a job quitter, what you guys are up to.
Yeah, well, I'll start. So as Monica said, we live in Montreal. I was born and raised in Quebec, so I lived in Montreal all my life. My background is my Caribbean descent. My mom is from Barbados, and my father is from Guyana. So they moved up here when they were in their teens. No, in their
20s.
Early 20s, yeah. So lived here all of my life. Strong Caribbean background, big family. So always go, when I was a kid, go back to, my parents would take me back to Barbados and visit family. So that's a little bit of my background.
And I was born in Guyana in South America. Came up when I was about 4. So pretty much all my life, I've never been back to Guyana. So also, pretty large family living in Canada and the United States. I am a job quitter since I've started this online business. I used to be a corporate manager for over 20 years. And when I came across this opportunity, I took that leap of faith. Actually, we took that leap of faith and we jumped right in, right?
I love that that's a we, because
I just want to add, I'm still currently working, but I used to do 2 jobs. And but I quit one job once we started this online business. So
and your main profession?
So my main profession is I'm a risk analyst. So I work online. So just to make sure that when people enter their credit card online, it's
they're not being fraudulent.
Yeah, it's not fraudulent.
Call them Inspector Gadget.
You gotta you gotta find out who's the person on the other side. So I still do that, but my other job, which was ride sharing, I don't do that anymore. So I just do my current job.
Since starting the business, you stopped having to do that second job.
Yeah. So
amazing. That's funny. You guys are kind of similar in that sense.
Yeah. Tanya's full-time and I'm the job quitter, and I think more maybe preemptive a little bit. I think now we've only been in the business kind of just started this year, but I think now that we've got to the point where now it makes sense to say I'm a job quitter. Yep. Whereas before it was like, I'm just going to quit and I'm just going to see what happens.
Yeah, we're going to close one door and we're just going to barge right through the other one.
As far as being I was kind of in the corporate thing too. I mean, similar to yourself, Cyril, I kind of did a little bit of security and fraud investigation, but more of the surveillance and that kind of thing. But recently I was an account executive for a security systems integrator. So mostly commercial, kind of big security system jobs in commercial or industrial application kind of stuff. But you just kind of, at the end of the day, you're like 20 years doing all that kind of stuff. You're like, there's got to be something else. And, you're dealing with all the corporate shenanigans and
politics.
Yeah, office politics.
I still get to play with all those politics.
The idea of like someone saying, "Oh, you're worth this much. This is how much you're going to make," and I'm like, I can make this for 30 years and then get a handshake, and then I'm too old to do anything else. I'm like, No.
or you're just a number too, you know, like
Absolutely.
yeah.
And you need to work on whatever schedule they decide you're going to work on.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think for me with the in the pandemic, it just made me realize because we moved. Sorry, I'm like super hot here.
No, I understand.
What happened is we moved a 24/7 office to working remotely, and then I became more like my job moved from managing to more being like a watchdog. You've got to make sure that the employees are doing their job. Check in with them more than, yes, we had our normal, monthly one-on-ones, but check in with them, several times a week. Keep an eye on their stats. And it was like, I lost the enjoyment because I'm like, this is not my job title. I'm not a babysitter.
You're not a micromanager. Yeah.
And I remember when Monica used to come home from work and she was like totally burnt, like really. Before starting this business, I remember she used to say, I don't know if I could do this all, continue doing this. I don't know if
until I'm 65. I'm like, I can't picture this.
No, but
I need to find something.
Yeah, she kept coming home and I'm like, just give it some time, but like I can't do it. So
you want that security, we signed a mortgage and Chris was like, I can't do this. And I was like, but we have to get them to renew the mortgage on this house. We have no option. And it's like, but yet it's like, you see that it's not okay for your partner, right? Like, and you've got to figure something out. And luckily we've got 5 years to figure it out because the mortgage doesn't need to be renewed for a few. So we're good. But yeah.
I think it's just we've been trained for our entire lives to think, go to school, get a degree, get a good job, ride it out, get promoted, get retirement.
Yeah.
No,
climb the corporate ladder, do the things you're supposed to.
I think a lot of people, and I think a lot of people now with the online space blowing up the way it has, people have options now. And they're like, I don't have to do that. And even some people are even shirking the whole 4-year degree thing, saying, I could, or I could just go work online and make a lot more money and learn things a lot faster by doing it than just by being engrossed in all the theory and then having a degree you can't find a job with. But I think for us, just there was skepticism. I mean, I found it, and I don't know about yourself, Monica, but like I said before, 3 a.m. sometime around Christmas, you're getting to the new year and you're like, what change do I want to make? This feels like the right time. And I saw the ad and I was like, okay, I can relate. These, Chris and Karen, our coaches, I mean, we love them. That's whose ad I saw. And I was like, you know what? These look like who we could be in, 15 years,
that number keeps changing because I'm like, what if they're watching this?
I don't want to, sorry, Chris, again, I don't want to date you. I don't know exactly how old you are, but
that's our problem.
But I saw the ad and I was like, you know what, this makes a lot of sense. And I'm sure like myself, Cyril, kind of looking at it with a very skeptical eye, thinking, okay, I'm aware of the scams that are out there.
One thing that I realized that is because when we decided, like I did my investigation and I looked in and I say, hey, because I come from a fraud background, risk analyst, I said, hey, you're getting 30 days to take a look at the products, look at the community, and at the end of the day, it's like, okay, what do you have to lose? Like, you have 30 days to look around. So it's something that really put us at ease. Like, okay.
And use your credit card. And, if you use your credit card, you're pretty covered, right?
Yeah.
You get your money back if it's not for you. I mean, I think for me, a lot of it was just, there's the little upfront investment to kind of be able to peek under the hood, as I like to call it, but there's no risk. There was no risk to vet the system. And that's basically where I was like, okay, I can completely vet this thing, find out if it's for me. And if it's not, then I walk away from it. But I think where I went into it, I was like, I kind of had to change my mindset a little bit because normally I'd be sort of the more pessimistic of like, oh, well, what if this doesn't work? What if I can't? But then for whatever reason, I kind of went out of character examining. But what if it did work? Like,
Yeah.
if this actually worked, and you looked around the community, and I saw all the people who were having this kind of success. I'm like, okay, either all these people are lying or there's something to it, and I need to maybe like take the jaded blinders off and give this thing a shot.
And
But-
lying with conviction, because it's like,
Yeah, because there's so many people that, you know, you're like, okay, honestly, if they can do it, there's no reason why I can't.
Mhm.
But I just knew it wouldn't be myself was the hard sell. I had seen enough. It was trying to get this one to. She's a lot less risk averse than I am, and it was or is it more risk averse? It's more risk averse. Yeah.
More risk averse.
Yeah, she's definitely a little more guarded with this. Yeah, because like Christmas time, New Year's, we just finished building the house. And I'm like, hey, so I'm gonna quit my job and do this thing. It's like,
You're not.
internet marketing. It's like, yeah, no, you're doing.
You don't go in front of cameras.
It's
How do
like,
we do this?
you don't
In front
have
of a
that.
camera.
Yes. Yeah, I'm more comfortable spying on people with cameras from my old job than I ever was being in front of one. So
Now you're on the other side.
This is helping tremendously. He seems to enjoy it. But yeah.
You know, it was the same for me where I'm an introvert. Cyril's more of an extrovert. And so just learning to be comfortable in front of the camera, I'm also a perfectionist. So it's like, okay, realizing that everything doesn't have to be perfect. Your audience is not expecting you to have, you know, perfect hair and makeup, and just be yourself. They want to see your authentic you, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think that's we've kind of, I don't know if struggle is the right word, but we've always kind of the same way wanted to take a perfectionist approach. Like, I don't want to post it unless it's perfect, or I don't want to, you know, I want to make it look like it's flashy and a little bit more corporate, but
I spend a lot of
kinda-
time in Canva because it's fun. But there's also that time where I need to just get my butt off of Canva and post.
yeah, you just
I do the
take a
same.
post, take a video, and it's,
Yeah.
you know,
Ugh, so much time in Canva.
mistakes and all, you know, it just has to kind of be raw and, like I said, authentic and unedited. But that's why I think these things are kind of nice, because you never know who's going to say what.
Exactly.
Sometimes I go off on tangents. It's like, please edit that. It wasn't.
I'll edit you. I'll edit you guys all day long, but him, no, he's funny. So one question. Go ahead, Monica. Yeah. No. I would say one thing I can normally figure out in the initial parts of a conversation is like what someone's biggest passion in life is, and what's most important to them. And I'm not 100% sure. So I'd love to hear like your passion and what was behind kind of making that change, and what your why is like in your lives.
Okay, perfect. Do you want me to
Yeah, you
go? Well, there's so many different layers. I actually grew up in a single parent home. And I remember, you know, being part of, you guys are still too young, but the latchkey generation, where we walked around with keys on our neck. And there was, you know, after school, we would go home, open up the door, make sure it's locked, stay, you know, a couple, you know, maybe an hour before our parents or family members.
You may have misjudged how old we are. Because I know exactly what you're talking about.
I never wore a key around my neck.
We are in our mid-40s, not the younger generation. Absolutely know what you mean.
You guys look younger.
No, and we have little kids who jumped in earlier, so I totally understand it. It happens all the time, so I'm not at all surprised.
And it was,
you know, it's real.
It's coming in.
Sprinkle that in for fun. Sorry about it. Go ahead. Yeah.
Sometimes, you know, in the single parent household, sometimes we had, sometimes we didn't, right? And it was just making do with the resources that we actually had. And then I always strived, you know, growing up, that I wanted to do something better for my family. I didn't want to repeat the cycle. And then that's why I decided to go into the corporate world, work my way up, doing different shifts and different, you know, learning as much as I could. And then I realized, you know what? It's good, but I've been sacrificing, you know, my time, for money.
Yeah.
And it's not worth it. You know, I remember when our daughter was younger and she's like, Mom, take me to the park. And sometimes I would have to do, you know, especially during the holidays, always worked out during my vacation. I'd have to write like 30 or 40 evaluations during the holidays to get it done to, for the new year, or, and I didn't have time. And I can't take back that time, unfortunately, but if I could do it differently, I would have, if I could have found this business a lot sooner, because family is very, very important. So our big why is about time freedom. And we found that ever since we've started this business, that we've been able to do a lot more things together, get closer as a couple, even.
Yeah.
100%. Working
so
on
even
this.
me, like I was doing ride sharing on top of my current job, and a lot of that was taken away. Ride sharing is great because it's very flexible. It fits around your schedule, which is great. But the problem is it takes you away from home. So a lot of your time is doing something else. So I used to do it on Saturday, Sunday, and what I realized is all like birthdays, barbecues, functions happen on the weekend, and I'm doing something else while I had to work because
just to bring in some extra income.
So,
so like we know, like especially now with the current like economic situation, there's a lot of families who aspire. They want something. They want to change. They just don't know how. Like I see a lot of people post, where things are not going well for me, and we just want to help as many people as possible live the life of their dreams. There's so many resources out there. There's so many, back to, if you look back before the age of the dawn of the internet, so much information out there. There's no reason why you can't succeed in life.
So
that's in a nutshell.
Yeah, no. A lot of people, when I communicate with people, like with this business, we communicate, and you hear the stories of like, I'm scared of losing my job, or I don't have enough time with my family, or I'm in debt. Like, there is another way, and that's where our passion comes in. Like,
we want to help.
We want to help. Like, we truly want to help anyone that's seeking that help, and show them that, hey, there is another way. Just take a chance. Sometimes you just got to take that chance.
Take a look. Where there's a will, there's a way, right?
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. And I think your point, take a look. It's not the right choice for everyone, and we're not saying everyone has to do this. It's give yourself the chance to get the information, to really assess it for yourself. And if it's right, awesome. Like, come on board, join the awesome community, which we all had the chance to meet, which was just an amazing experience. And if it's not, same thing. I hope to see you like on our path of life. It's not.
I think when people sort of think about, oh, I gotta quit the job and start something new, they see the whole mountain and they're like, oh, it's too much. They get overwhelmed with like that much of a change. Where I think the way we approach it, it's very methodical. It's very step by step. And as long as you keep your head down and stay in contact with your mentor and keep the momentum going and just being consistent, you get a lot faster, a lot quicker than you thought you would. Absolutely. And it's the journey isn't as onerous as a lot of people make it out to be in their heads. And I think that's where a lot of people sort of falter, is they make too much of it. They overthink it. A lot of people that started as part-timers too. And I think that's a great approach where, they kind of put some effort in while they're working their other jobs. And that's, again, in that case, being consistent is key, because, if you leave it alone, then, you're not going to succeed. But where I think sort of taking the burn the ships approach was a little more dramatic, I think. But again, Tanya works full time. So for some people like us, we still have a working spouse. It makes sense to do it. But the fact that we're doing it together makes it a lot more enjoyable. And, we hear some people that heard the stories of people doing this as like a secret side hustle from their spouse. And I'm like, oh man, like that would be,
I can't imagine.
I don't know how you would pull that off. That's like living a double life. And eventually that's something.
You got to spend a lot of time in the bathroom while you're like texting people. Why are you taking a video of this? Well, just because I want to.
Yeah, but if you really are passionate about it, you will find a way to work at this business. And you know what? And I like to listen to a lot of podcasts and stuff online. And one of the sayings where if you want, like Chris had mentioned that, you look at the business and like, oh my, that's too much. But the way to move a mountain is one stone at a time. You take one pebble at a time, you move it, and eventually it gets done. Like, so yes, running a business is, well, I'm not going to be, we're not going to lie. It's not, we're not going to show it's easy. It's not easy, but if you take it one step at a time, you take it one step at a time, and the video training is like really step by step. It's, you watch it, okay, implement, okay, you can rewind it, go back, that's that one pebble is time to move that mountain until you get a business running.
Yeah, and we've tried other businesses before this, where there wasn't that sense of community where you can reach out and get help when needed. We didn't have a mentor, we didn't have a coach. I remember trying to build our own website, and getting stuck at certain points, and it's like, who do we call? We didn't have anyone to call. Yeah, you can check on YouTube, but
and there's communities out there that you can ask a question, but then you get like 25 answers. So like, okay, which one is the right one?
They're all different. Each one is different. Yes.
No, I think the advantage of what we're doing with a system that's already baked in, the training's baked in, we're not having to reinvent the wheel. We're just implementing what so many of others have already done. You're kind of standing on the shoulders of giants, so to speak, in that they already have a process. You just have to follow along and follow the program, and things will start to happen. But you do have to be consistent. You have to do the effort. It's not a get paid just for showing up kind of thing. But
just because you put your bum in the chair doesn't mean the paycheck comes. You have to do.
It takes work, and it compounds. The more effort you put in, and the more consistency that it starts to compound, and things start to kind of take off before you know it. But you do have to be all in. You have to have a certain passion. To your point, it's if you're not having something that's driving you through that, the humble beginnings of this business, then your people might give up too easily, or they might look for the next shiny object. But you have to sort of have those long-term goals and that faith that if others have done it, then I'll do it too. It's just going to take a little bit of time and kind of get through the humble beginnings of it.
Yeah. Is there a specific moment that you guys can identify as that time when you decided to look for that change?
Yeah, go.
So
I remember working and dealing with the long commute of, going to work, getting back from work, where it's like sometimes depending on the traffic, even though I'm only, literally 25 minutes away from the city, sometimes it would take me an hour and a half to get home. And I remember getting home one day and realizing that I was on autopilot. I didn't know how I got home. I was so busy while I was thinking about, oh my goodness, did I follow up with this email? Did I take care of this? Oh, my daughter has she has a soccer game coming up I need to be home by 6 o'clock. I need to make sure that she has something to eat. And that's when I realized, okay, something has to give. I can't keep doing this until I'm 65. It's not worth it. There has to be something more, and that was my turning point, where it's like, I told Cyril, I said, you know what? I'm going to give myself a year. I think I was talking about it actually for 5 years, where it was like, I was at this point where I had enough. And finally that year before I quit my job, I was like, you know what, Cyril, I'm going to give myself a year. We're going to plan, we're going to save up, do whatever we need to do, but I need to leave this. I need to leave my job.
Yeah. And then my why, it was before, like, it was before I found this business is, I was working at another company in the same industry. And Monica, you were
like 8-9 months pregnant with
9 months. And we just had actually bought a house, actually built a house. And, you got the mortgage and, and then I lost my job. And I got laid off. Like, my boss put me into the office. He said, hey, we're not making enough money. We're going to lay you off. And that fear of like, okay, what do I do next? And I actually broke down and cried, and I was like, oh my God.
And I've ever seen him cry.
Yeah, you know, because it was so hard. Like, it was heartbreaking. It was good that I was able to find another job right away, but at that point, that was my breaking point where I said, I can't be in that position anymore, you know?
Yeah.
So
Cannot have a-
I started like, you know, I started looking for other businesses. You know, we started a personal blog. We did Amazon, you know, Amazon FBA. We drop shipping, but you know, and then Monica found this business, right? Where it gave us hope. We're like, oh my gosh, it had everything the other businesses have, but a community, a training, a mentor, a coach, everything to show you, to guide you, you know? Like Chris said, you see people succeeding, you say, hey, you know, I could,
If they can do it, I can do it.
if you know, you're like, hey, you know?
And it's interesting because he's always the one who's he found the other businesses. I'm not really the person who seeks out this type of information. And he was quite surprised when I'm the one who came to him with the opportunity. Like, and it was like one day. And I watched the webinar over the workshop over a couple of times before I brought it to his attention. And then one day I told him, I think it was his turn to cook because we alternate with cooking. And I said, Cyril, you need to sit down.
I said, oh, I'm in trouble. You know, Chris, you know when you say, what did I do now? I was actually crying, like tears of joy were coming out. I was so excited to tell him, and I was like, babe, I think I found something, you know, and we just, you know, took it from there. And he was like, he was always so supportive. He's like, do it, you know. I was on board right away. I was like, oh, because it was good to see that, you know, she took the lead, and I was like, okay, let's do it, you know, so.
That's so funny. I was going to ask, did you face any fears or obstacles when you found this business? But it sounds like no, you like jumped on board and were so excited about it. But
no fear, because we've tried other stuff, but the obstacles was time. Like we were still doing our full-time job. Like Monica was her commute was sometimes it would be an hour and a half of commute, and then on another 8 hours. So that's 10 hours you don't see, you know, that she still had to work. Like we started our business during the pandemic, but she still had to work. And I was still working and doing my side gig as ride sharing. So we're figuring out time. And then we had to realize, what do we prioritize? So we would watch Netflix, you know, during the pandemic.
We used to binge on Netflix during the pandemic.
I think Netflix says you reached the end of the library or something like that. I don't remember what the quote was, or something like that. You know?
No more for you.
And then we used to watch news, but then we realized, okay, there's certain things we have to sacrifice, which is Netflix and consuming the news, and put into the business, because it didn't need a lot of time. So it was like, okay, that 90 minutes that you watch a show or a movie, you could watch, you know, you could train.
Take care of the business and do the training. It was just really trying to get organized. That was our biggest thing that we had to learn to balance.
I think a lot of people will say, oh, I just don't have the time to do it. They almost reflexively, they just,
they
just say, oh, we're so busy, we don't have the time. It's like, no, if you really sit and audit where you're spending the time. I mean, we hardly ever watch TV unless there's like there's the we'll treat ourselves with, like, you know, an episode of our latest kind of thing on Amazon Prime or whatever. But I mean, before it would just be the reflex would be you sit on the couch and just find the least objectionable program on TV, whatever it is. We need to have like an eye for anything, just whatever's there. And then you're like sitting there on your phones anyways. And as I'm looking at this business, is like, okay, well, I don't need to watch TV. We spend time on our phones. If we're going to do that anyways, we may as well be making money while we're doing it.
That's
so true. If you can monetize your hobby or monetize the things that you like to do and start making money for your time, I mean, why wouldn't you?
And we work on it together. You know, we used to stare blankly at Netflix and not even communicate. And then we go to bed and we wake up and we go to school. We take the kids to school. We go to work, and it's like, God, now we sit and like, I get home from work and I have 10 billion ideas that have popped in my head while I work, and I need to get them out before I can go to bed. So we spend time with our kids. We've prioritized that. Obviously, that's why we do this.
That's our why.
But as soon as they go to bed, it's like, okay, what ideas, what's working, what's not working? How can we change things? Let's feed him caffeine so we can do videos that he will actually get productive with.
Yes, I have to eat drugs to appear on camera.
It's getting much better these days. But yeah, like our relationship has grown tremendously from it because we're working together.
Yeah.
And as you always say, you know, we're rowing the boats in the same direction, and we're co-piloting as opposed to being, you know, me driving a bus and him just kind of riding along for fun. He found the business, and you know, we now have the very different aspects of it that we work. But
yeah, I think having a separation of tasks is important.
Absolutely.
If we're all both doing posts, or there's a collision of
Yeah.
like we're tripping over each other doing the same things, but if we've been able to sort of divide it in a way that makes sense for us, and I think that's
only one
That's
person can be
super
logged
helpful.
into Canva at a time. He's not allowed.
It's funny because when you do it as a couple, it did bring us closer. And then we do take on certain tasks of the business. Like Monica does all the posting, and I will do more of the technical stuff and you know, the back end stuff.
Like that.
You
And he
know,
also does a lot of the researching.
The research.
I call him the networker. He's really good with, you know, communicating and interacting with people and doing
Yeah.
follow-ups, where I'm more behind the scenes, like more of the creative, where it's like, hey, I gotta post this, I gotta do this, branding, thinking about that. And it's exciting because this business has taught me that I've got other skills other than being a manager. There's so many other layers.
Oh my God.
Right? I'm sure it's the same for you guys as well.
It's amazing.
we've developed muscles we didn't know we had, especially when it comes to like marketing and creating online presence and branding. I mean, we're both historically in like sales and project management roles, so we sort of understand that fairly well. But being able to sort of pivot into more of a marketing, especially doing the online thing and the technical side of like building a sales funnel or maintaining a sales funnel and or an online sort of funnel and websites and all that stuff, that's pretty new to us, but we found it kind of translates into other areas of our life too, where you know, we've sort of stumbled upon and become accidental marketers, and like for some other people that we've come across in their businesses where they're like, hey, you do a lot of marketing, tell me about this. I'm like, why would I? Actually, I know how to answer that question. Yeah, I do know more than I think I do. I just have to like, have the right people ask the right question. So
we have friends with like brick and mortar stores who are having trouble finding more clients, and they want to build that online presence, and they're like, but we don't know how. I'm like, oh my God, can we like trade knowledge? And like, we'll just sit around, and he helps us with our fish tanks, and
like
we
a
help with the
barter
marketing.
system
Like,
going on. Yeah.
it's just this, like, again, it's like-minded people who just want to help others.
yes.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and I think when we all met in Calgary a few weeks ago, you know, we had that sense, but that just like exploded in my brain in terms of how are there 2,000 people here that we all have the same mindset, and that we're all really, our lives are all very different, 24 different ways, but we all
rowing in the same
we're
direction.
all rowing in the same direction. We all want the same things. And that, to Monica's point and Cyril's point, is to help as many people in this world as we can to change their lives.
I mean, you and I both have that same Zig Ziglar quote, sort of put over our desk there. You say it better than I do. I always tend to butcher it up.
You help. You get. Oh man.
You help as many people as possible.
No, you get everything you want when you help other people get what they want.
Yeah, you'll get all you want in life if you help enough people get what they want, basically.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So yeah, and our mindset has really, and it's not only helping other business partners, it's moved outside of our business. Like, we help other people out on, you know, sometimes, like even the other day, so every week I go to Walmart and I get grocery shoppings. I do online and get groceries, and
he does the grocery for his elderly parents every week.
So and the kid or the young man that brings the groceries, I started chatting with him, and he was like, hey, which school you go to? He goes, I go to this school. And he goes to college, and hey, what do you want to do? He wants to become he wants to become an entrepreneur. And I was like, bing. you know?
Yeah.
And we just started talking, and the stuff that I've learned during the business, I was able to give it to him. I didn't charge him. I didn't say this is going to cost you X amount of dollars, whatever. I just gave him knowledge. Hey, read this book. Hey, start doing this, start doing that. Start now. You know, you're young. Like I would love to have somebody tell me something like that
20 years.
20 years. So if I could just give him a little bit nugget, and he took it,
Yeah.
you know. And I think the next week he listened to me, and I was like, oh, he took a book that I recommend.
He goes, oh, I bought a book. What's the name of the book that he bought?
The book that is called The Magic of Thinking Big, right? And he says, you know, I got that book, and I'm, you know, and the action of giving is more rewarding than taking. And I was like, wow, okay, you know?
You know, who knows what a difference. I told him, I said, maybe this young man can be like the next Zuckerberg or something. You just never know, right? What small impact that you can make on someone just by sharing information, giving your time,
money
if you have, you know.
Yeah.
So this business has really expanded our mindset of, you know, getting out of our own bubble of, okay, go, taking care of this, that, and how can we help not only our business community, but how can we help people outside in different ways? And I'm sure it's the same with you guys as well.
I mean, leading with kindness is sort of a thing that's in short supply of these days. I think a lot of people are like very, you know, very myopically focused on me, my own goals. What can I do? And I think the media we consume as well. I mean, even though we live in Canada and we're probably, you know, in the top % of global wealth, we're always consumed by images of like the 0.001%, you know, the billionaires and trillionaires, and we all think we need to aspire to that, when if we just kind of step back and say, we have plenty, and it's on us to sort of spread that around as much as we can in whatever form we can manage it, whether it's just by simple acts of kindness and sharing, being generous with knowledge and experiences, and
or just a smile. You know what? Smile. Those are free. You don't have to know anything to smile. Well,
but trying to, I think someone at the conference we attended the other day said, serve the people that you used to be, or the people that you recognize as your former selves. You see that kid helping with the groceries, you say, yeah, you remind me of somebody. Here, read this book, or let me give you a piece of advice. And that could make all the difference to somebody actually taking an interest. And I don't think enough people do that. That's why it stands out. It'd be nice if that was just the way, and it wouldn't seem extraordinary, but you know, that's not really the world we live in now. But you know,
could be.
We're trying to change it.
We often talk about, you talked about like how to move a mountain, and you move it one pebble at a time. And as soon as you said pebble, I was like, this post that I've made and I've seen so many places is, you know, be that pebble that you throw into the water, and the ripples just spread, and then they start to reflect and come back, and everyone just is grown from that. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, when you mentioned about that pebble, and I started reading, because I watch a lot of like YouTube and TikTok, and this one person, he was sitting there and he was saying, it's called emotional intelligence, right? And when you smile at someone or you are kind to someone, it's like a ripple effect. Like, let's say when you go to the store and you say hi to the cashier, or you say, hey, how's your day? How you doing? It you know, it makes them feel good. Then it passes on to the next person. You know, and then it passes on to the next person. It passes on. So it is a ripple effect, but it has to start with you. Like you give up that energy, and it spreads, and then you'll see the world will eventually change. You know, at the end of the day, I think there's more kind than evil. I think, you know, like you give out that, you give that inner energy, and people like, I've noticed it. Like I've given out positive energy, and I get it back. So
no, it's there. I was at the doctor's just for normal appointment, and they switched to, you had to pay $4 so you didn't get a parking ticket, but the ticket is good for all day. I was literally in and out in 20 minutes, and I've got this ticket that's good for the whole day. And so I get in my car and I'm checking my phone, and I see someone pull up who's about to pay, and I said, hey, do you want a ticket? It's good for the day. I paid for it. I'm done. I'm out. And they were like, are you serious? And I was like, well, I'm just going to throw it in the garbage. So yeah, if you'd like to take it. And he's like, oh, I don't even know how to say thank you. I said, the way to say thank you is to wait and give it to somebody else when you're done.
Oh yeah.
And they were like,
Yeah.
yep,
Sure, the landlord maybe
yep, I can do
disagrees,
that. Well,
but
whatever.
that's their parking revenue.
I don't even know why they're charging for parking. It's in the middle of nowhere. They should not be charging for parking. But I was just like, why would I just crumple this up and throw it out when, I can make someone else's day and they don't have to bother to spend that $4 because I've already done it.
No, it's true. It's true.
I was like, yeah.
Or sometimes what we do is we'll pay for, you go to the drive-through and pay for the person behind, just out of, and it feels good, so.
I always tell myself I'm going to do that, but
Yeah.
I never do. I don't know why. Maybe because I look back and be like, oh, they look like they're going to order a bunch.
It's a family
I
vacation.
just paid $30 worth of like lunch for a minivan of people.
I'm still always shocked. So I worked at McDonald's. That was my job.
Like $1,000 for McDonald's.
I'm shocked when they tell me the amount. So when I worked there, a Big Mac combo, like normal size combo, medium drink, $4.27 forever. And I will never forget that number, $4.27. It's now like $12. So yeah, a family like four when we go. That's a lot. But yeah, that's so funny.
That's why you got to have more income streams
There
than
you
just
go.
your JOB.
There you go.
It's not going to get cheaper anytime soon.
So Cyril, you talked about the advice that you gave to the person who was bringing out your groceries. What advice would you give to people who are aspiring entrepreneurs and they really want to start and look to get into the online space?
I would say, and I told this young gentleman, I say, start now. Okay. When I mean start now, start reading books, start watching, listen to podcasts, start doing your research. What do you want to do? What niche do you see yourself working in? Like, start now. Don't wait till, okay, I'll start tomorrow. And then tomorrow comes around, okay, I'll start next week. And then next week comes to next month. Oh, I'll start next month. And then a year has passed and you haven't started.
Years has passed.
Years has passed. And then you're going to look, you look back at, like yourself, like Tanya and Chris, or Monica and myself, and you're saying, oh, they're doing that. They're having, and you had that chance to take a chance. And it doesn't have to be this particular business. It could be anything you want, but start now. Like, the information is free. Everything out there is free. YouTube is free. A podcast, you could go to the library. If you don't want to buy a book, go to the library and take out the book for free.
Yeah. They have those things called a library card. It's amazing.
Yeah. So to me personally, there's no excuse not to start now. And I told the young man, he says, oh, any other advice? I say, start now. He gave me his, what he wants to do. And I say, start now, so, and do your research, hey, you could, especially in our business, you come in, and if it's not for you, then, hey, it's not for me. It's okay. But you took that chance and you got that information,
That's one of the great things about this online business is that, everything is so transparent. Like, you are invited to watch a 90-minute webinar. You're invited to take a look around the community, be inspired by other business owners and see that it's not just us. There's like thousands of people out there that are doing the same thing, that are succeeding, whose lives have changed as a result of this business opportunity. And one of the things that, that I would suggest to somebody who's aspiring, don't look at it as, okay, I need to get from point A to point B within, I don't know, a millisecond or something like that. You got to look at the journey. Enjoy the journey. And you have to just take one step at a time. And I agree with you, Cyril. Just start now. Don't think about it. I hear about people talking about their dreams for about, I have some, family members or some friends. I want to do this. And they've been talking about it for the last 10 or 15 years. And I'm like, okay, well, what are you doing about it?
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, Monica, you said, for 5 years, you said, this is my last year. This is my last year. What advice would you give yourself at that point where you started to say, this is my last year, many years before you You actually made the change.
Ooh, that's a great question. I
Right?
would say believe in yourself and stop keeping yourself in a box.
Mhm.
There's so many things that you can do. I would have started a lot earlier. I would have probably not spent 20 years. I got a lot of experience in there, and a lot of my experience that I received from my other job, I'm able to use it in this online business as well. But I would have probably moved around a little bit and started building my empire a little sooner.
Yeah.
Your empire. I love that. Your empire. Absolutely.
Our empire. but for me, it goes back a little further because one of the books I read was Rich Dad Poor Dad. Okay.
In his early 20s.
In my early 20s.
Okay.
And I didn't do anything. So
Right.
I would have told myself, don't procrastinate.
Right.
You know, procrastinate kills dreams. That's one thing. It will kill your dream. Because if you say, okay, I'll get back at it. And if I had started in my 20s, you know, things would have obviously been different because my mindset would have been different. But I read that book, and then I read it just before I started this business, or
You read it again.
I read it again, and I was like, boom. I was like, oh my goodness.
From a different perspective.
Different perspective, you know? But I don't regret what happened. Like, you know, everything's for a reason. You know, the universe gives to you what, you know, when you're
at a certain time.
But, you know, if you're on the fence, please do not procrastinate. Start thinking of doing something, you know, for you, for your family, for your legacy.
Yeah.
You know, it's you know, when you create a business, and especially this business, you can pass it down to your children so that they don't have to worry, so that they could fulfill their dreams without worrying about financial stability. Like,
yeah, I remember for us when just going to college and university where we had to take out student loans.
Absolutely.
You want something different for our kids where they don't have to worry about having debt when they come out of school. Where like our daughter wants to go to medical school. You want to go to medical school? Okay, this is just focus on school right now.
Right.
You know, you don't have to worry about, okay, I have to worry about, okay, I gotta go to work, a part-time job because I gotta eat. You know, I gotta pay rent. You know, when you can focus on
you can't focus on studying, and you can't focus on that. And you know, med school, it's not inexpensive, but it's also something where you talk about starting now. That's something where you need to think about well before you ever fill out that first application. You need to have that background. You need to have started thinking about what they look for upon entry. And it's the same. And what does an employer look for upon entry? Or how do you start your own business? You have to start and build that knowledge so early. It's
and one of the things we're trying to instill in our kids. So they're young, they're 4 and 6. So talking about entrepreneurship is maybe a little bit heavy, but getting them thinking more of the idea of, if someone, like, we ask them, what do you want to be when you grow up? And they're listing, you know, astronaut, spaceman, or cowboy, whatever the things 4 and 6-year-olds come up with. We started to have the conversation of what problems would you want to solve, and start thinking more about how can you be of service to the world, and how do you want to, you know, make things better, and finding ways to do that rather than just pigeonholing yourself into a traditional job and making that your purpose. You know, think about how you can be of service and lead from a service, you know, a servant leadership type role. But yeah, just super important. It's developing that mindset early. And in the same, I've reread books and be like, I don't remember this book being this awesome when I first read it. I think you're weird tangent here. I'm a big cheese guy. Okay. And in Toronto, there's a place called the Cheese Boutique in Etobicoke. If you've ever
dangerous
kind of been
you think
there,
McDonald's is expensive.
You walk in and this place is like all things cheese, and
that's amazing.
And you know, I want to like sample all the stuff in the, what do they call them, chevaliers, the guys that the cheese experts. The guy's like, I don't think you're old enough for this cheese. It's like, what?
It's
what
a blue
is
cheese.
that? I was like, what does that mean? He's like a really nice Stilton. He's like, what does that mean? He's like, listen, it's not a knock on you, your taste buds need to develop at certain times to be ready to appreciate certain things. It's like, you just may not have the taste buds for this yet. It's like, this one's popular with like our older crowd who maybe, you know, it may be too strong. And I tried it and I was like, that's really good, but I can see your point. And then that kind of stuck with me, or that you just may not be ready for the information at that point.
And some people are never ready for that information because blue cheese is vile. And that's okay. We just choose a different cheese.
Agree to disagree. But we got a plane flying overhead. I don't know if you can hear that.
We do, yeah.
But yeah, sometimes you're just not ready for it, and that's okay. And I think it's just revisiting it and staying consistent, but keeping an open mind and not closing yourself off to other options. And I feel like whenever we talk to some people in the online space, to a lot of them, that maybe their first reaction is, oh, it's some like airy fairy type of like not a real business kind of thing. And they almost outright dismiss it because it doesn't fit their traditional mold of what running a business looks like, or what having a job looks like. And they sort of miss the bigger view of how we can be servants to other people in this business, and how leadership actually does change people's lives, and the products we use do change people's lives. And I was thinking of the story, or the saying, that we tend to overestimate what we can accomplish in a year, but underestimate what we can accomplish in 5. Where people think of the quick returns, and they think, okay, well then I got to make money right away, because if I'm going to give up a job to do this, then, you know, I got to keep the money going, rather than the short-term pain for long-term gain. And we've seen with a lot of leaders in our business, the long-term gain in this thing is just, it blows away the normal conception of what a good living wage should be. I mean, that's the idea of a living wage is sort of, to me, an antiquated way to keep yourself down. I mean, the money that some of these people are making is like, people are like, how you're doing what? Like, did I hear that right? Is that a typo?
Everyday people. And I think that's the part that resonates really well with me. And you know, there's people's online persona, of course, and what we put out on social media. That's one thing.
Sure.
But meeting people and understanding that they're so truly authentic, and what you see online is what they are. And that's definitely what Chris and I try to put out there. You know, we're not different than yourselves. We're not different than anyone else who's in this business.
We don't have any special skills or
magical powers. We're all given the same system. We're all given the same training. We're all given the same opportunity. And the only difference between those that succeed and those that don't is the individual and the effort that they
consistency and effort
put in.
Yeah.
That's something that's
the desire.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Some of our leaders were talking about, everyone has in our community has a different desire. You know, some people want to make a few $100 per month, and that's fine. You can do that. But some people want a life-changing business, and you can do that. But it all comes down to desire. What's your desire? What do you want? What do you want for you? What do you want for your family? What do you want for your legacy? You know, that's what it comes down to, you know?
Yeah. And we're just amazed where some people might think, oh, I might be too young, or I might be too old to run this business. And when you see people who are in their 60s, managing the business and succeeding, there's nothing that you can't do. You're never too old to get started, right?
You know, this is a little bit side. I'm going off track here, but we were watching Netflix, and they were talking about people living past 100, and certain places in the world, they live to 100.
There's a lot of centenarians,
like 110, 120. So even if think about it, even if you're 60, you still if you live to 120, you still got another. So people are living longer. So what do you want to do? Like retirement now, it's what, 65, 67, 70. You still have, so it's never too late to start. You know, if you're in your 50s, you have another 50 years to do something that you're passionate about. You love, like what some of our passion is, and I told Monica, is I want to get to the point where at a drop of a dime, hey, let's jump on a plane and go somewhere and just do what we want to do.
We love travel.
We love to travel, and not worry about, okay, I got to get back to work at, Monday at 9 o'clock, just that freedom, that flexibility. And what's great about this business, and we went to Cuba and we brought our business with us. We brought our laptop, our cell phone. The Wi-Fi was shoddy, but you know what? The business was still running.
Yes.
People
Despite your
were
shoddy
people,
Wi-Fi.
yeah, but we were still able to communicate. We were like, wait, we just got to get Wi-Fi. It's like, hold on, okay, got it. But we were still able to do the business. It's like, what other brick and mortar company that you can take, like
take with you when you're on vacation.
Yeah.
And that's a great, the thing about it too, it's not, for, some of us, we want to do this full time, and where there are others who actually really enjoy their current employment and they're like, they love it. I don't want to leave, but I want to make a little extra money. This business can still be run part-time, right?
Yeah.
Totally.
So it's truly
I love what I do, and I love the company that I'm with, and I've been there since before it formed, and I love it. And I have vacation days, and I was encouraged to take them. And a couple weeks ago, I said, Chris, let's make the long weekend longer. And I actually don't want to go. We went to Niagara Falls. I said, I don't want to go to Niagara Falls on the long weekend because it's insane. I want to go before. So let's beat the rush and let's go.
Middle of the week.
Middle week, I took the days off. It wasn't a problem. And we hopped in the car and we went with the kids. And Chris and I were sitting there one night, kids passed out.
Fell asleep at the dinner table.
Literally fell asleep at the dinner table. We finish our meals, and it's 6:30, 7 o'clock. We're in our hotel room because, again, it's illegal to leave your children who are that young alone in their hotel room. And we're sitting there working on the business. And I looked at Chris and I said, a year ago, we never could have done this because we would have used your vacation time or been saving it for the different things that we had planned.
Flexibility just wouldn't have been there.
And we couldn't have just hopped in the car and gone. And you would have been begging for the time off or just not asked, and we would have stayed home, and we wouldn't have built those memories with our kids. And that, to me, that was a moment where I was like, no, this is the right choice.
And she travels a lot.
And I do.
All of her pictures are not Canva. They're not Photoshopped.
Those are not Photoshopped, and those aren't somebody else's pictures. Those are ones that I take, and
she gets good content.
Yeah.
Taj Mahal or wherever
I happen to be. I just can't wait for them to be able to come. Jackson actually said to us the other day, I was talking about a trip, and he says, Mommy, can I come with you? And I said, baby, not this time. You're going to go to school. But I always connect with them on FaceTime, and their biggest joy is making those silly faces with like the masks and stuff. And so we spend lots of time doing that. And he said, but I want to see the world. And I said, baby, don't worry. We will show you the world. And that is to me, it's just so important to see the world and get the perspective of how lucky we are to live in Canada, how lucky Chris and I are to live the fortunate life that we've been given, and not take that for granted, but be able to give everything that I was given.
Yeah, be stewards of it, and put them in a position where they can do good.
Yeah.
I mean,
to me, that's
if you have all the advantages and you're not sharing it, what are you?
Yeah.
I don't know the answer to that, but it's probably not good.
Monica, you talked about like breaking that cycle and wanting something different for your family. My only hope is that I'm able to give our kids what I was given. I've been incredibly fortunate. If I can give them everything I was given and more, I've paid respect to my parents, and that's kind of the only thing that I need to do in my life. And if I can do more and I can help more people, and I truly believe that we can, that's a bonus.
We've seen so many people in our business that have been able to retire their parents and retire their spouses and send money back home and buy homes and be the first ones in like a generation to do X, just because of the opportunities that they've been able to put together for themselves through this business.
Or even started ministries. We've saw some people that, able to start a ministry or give back to their church. Like, not just, a couple of dollars, like write them a check of several thousands and say, the church needs a new roof, or something happens back in their country, and they're able to go back and help back in the country. we seen that. We see testimonials and we're like, this is
Wow.
phenomenal.
Like
Like
the other day I was tearing up when, one of the, lovely business owners in our community, where she actually is, she's bringing her parents to Canada.
Mhm.
Like I was like, oh my goodness, that was
that
You
they've
know?
worked, and that was their dream. And, their
Mhm.
parents sacrificed for them and got them to Canada, but weren't able to come themselves. And now they get to bring them over to Chris's point, retire them, have them come here to live out their life with them.
yeah,
That's
like a dream
amazing.
come true. That's amazing.
That's
Absolutely.
amazing. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you.
So what legacy do you guys hope to build and leave behind?
Another really great question. For us, our legacy is really, one of our legacies really for our children, where we want to make sure that whatever they aspire to do, they're able to do it. Our second legacy is to help as many families as possible be able to earn online, to be able to spend more quality time with their family, and to pay it forward. Whatever you are learning from us or from the community, you'll be able to share that information with others.
Mhm.
That's what we really want to do, help as many people as especially, we, like you mentioned in the beginning of the conversation, we want to speak to the person who we were before we started this business, to that tired professional, who's like, oh my goodness, at their wits' ends, trying to do multiple things, on autopilot, but seeing no end in sight. We want that, really speak to those type of individuals.
Yeah.
When I heard that at the conference, literally, like a mess, just a mess. It was it was amazing. There was a lot of mess.
We were hot messes for a lot of that.
And-
There were some
and you know-
testimonials there that I think
just
got everybody.
But inspiring.
Yeah, but it's people have to realize that there's enough to go around. Like everyone can,
Yes.
everyone on this planet has enough to get to the next level of,
There should be enough.
It should
to eat.
Yeah, everyone to eat. Everyone
have a good life.
And and this is the vehicle. This is one of the vehicles that you can use to get you to that next level. We've seen people not only stop here, but they've expanded their reach. Like they've bought, income properties. They've started other ventures that they always wanted to do, but they didn't have the time because they didn't, work, or something was keeping them back. We see this happening in our community. Every week we have our mastermind that people tell about their journey, and we sit there and we're like, holy smoke, this is incredible,
what they've been through, where it's like, and where they are now, right?
Yeah, like if you think you have problems, when you come into community, you're like, oh, okay. you put your ego to the side, and you're like, okay,
at the door.
So that legacy is, you want to leave that legacy is that's what we want for our kids. They don't have to worry about. And
and what about you guys? What is the legacy that you'd like to leave?
I was about to say, please no one ask me that question, because I don't actually know
I think you kind of hit on it, and just being able to give our kids every opportunity in life. I mean, I think that's what every parent wants for their kids. I think we want to be able to instill in them a kind of a servant leadership sort of mindset. Again, solve big problems rather than think about what you can get out of the world. Think about what you can give back, and having a business that we can pass on to them that they can then run with if they so choose, I think would be great. I don't think a lot of parents are able to do that. But I'm just more excited to see where this takes us, because already in the short time we've been, I mean, the skills we've developed have opened doors.
It's amazing.
The things that we never would have thought possible. The people we've met along the way, the community you build, you're just like, man, like, where does this end? I mean, does it end? I mean, it shouldn't end. I hope it doesn't. But you just forward looking, you see, man, like we could get into things that we're not even contemplating right now. There's going to be global needs that are going to pop up that all of a sudden we're going to find ourselves positioned in to be able to help with. I don't know what they are yet, but I just sort of feel that that's coming, and we just need to be ready for it.
I think of a conversation that we had at the convention. We got to meet the people who started this arm of the business. And, you know, everyone was taking pictures and blah, 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 blah. And we patiently waited till they weren't as overwhelmed. And we walked up and they said, oh, you know, we'll pose for a picture. I said, I don't need a picture. I really just wanted to meet you guys. And I wanted to ask the question, you know, when you started this and they started it 7 years ago, the two of you took a business model and you turned it completely upside down. Did you envision what this would become? You know, right now we're sitting at like approaching 200,000 people in the business community from all over the world. And they started 7 years ago as two individuals. And they simply said, no, we just wanted to pay off our mortgage. That's all we wanted, was simply to pay off our mortgage so we could live our life. And to see how many lives they've changed. And that wasn't their intention, but they've embraced it and they've built such an amazing community. To me was like, huh. Okay. Yeah, no, we're at the right place. I got it now.
No, it truly is the right place.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Well, I think
It's 11:30. We know you got to
you guys got to run.
get ready for the rest of your day here.
Absolutely.
Great.
We appreciate your time so much.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun chatting.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And you know, one more thing before we go is the people. Like we met you guys for the first time face to face, and we in any other circumstance we would never cross paths. There would be no like, you know, you live in London, we live in Montreal. There's no way. And new friendships are formed. Like we you know, we consider you friends now, you know, and we went to the convention, and because we started this business during the pandemic, we didn't get to meet a lot of people face to face. And it's just good to touch someone and feel someone and communicate and give a hug, and you know, just that bond. This business is it, like, you know, there's a community, you know, and if you're in that mindset of an entrepreneur and you want to surround yourself with entrepreneurs, then this is the community to be in, like like-minded people, you know. So it's really, really great. You get to meet phenomenal people you know. So.
Thanks for having us. We really appreciate the opportunity to just chat with you guys one-on-one. It's been amazing. Thank you.
No, our pleasure. Cyril, you said one thing in terms of, you know, you're an entrepreneur. To me, entrepreneurs always think that they're starting their own business. Absolutely, you are. And you're doing it alone. But we're never alone. We have such an awesome community. And likewise, we would consider you guys friends as well, and look forward to reconnecting and re-looking at snippets of this video in the future and saying, oh my gosh, do you remember when? And then 100%, 100%. We're going to throw it in the calendar like years from now, and there'll be a look back when.
We've already saved some of our first videos that we're going to look back on and be like, wow, that was
this is not one of them, but to see the progress that we've all made, I can't wait. I can't wait.
The girls were 6 hours away.
Yeah, no, for sure. Thank you guys so much, and have an awesome rest of your day.
You too. Enjoy your day with your family.